Okay, so you just bought your Brother PE535 embroidery machine. Now what? This is your step-by-step guide to embroidering your first garment successfully and listing it on Etsy and starting that small business you've always dreamed of, or making gifts for yourself and the people that you love. So where do you start? So you're going to need a blank garment. Now, my favorite blank garments are Hanes Eco Smart because they're so soft. I love the colors and they're good for the environment. They're made from recycled water bottles. And don't feel pressured to buy in bulk if you're just starting out. You can buy in bulk from places like Shirt Space and Blank Apparel. But for someone like me who is still growing my business, I like to do made to order items. So I don't have a lot of inventory sitting around and I don't overbuy. You can save money buying in bulk though. For instance, this sweatshirt cost me about $18 on Amazon. I order singles when my orders come in, so I don't have to invest like $400 in blank t-shirts and sweatshirts that I don't know are gonna sell. As soon as my Etsy order comes in for a sweatshirt, I place my order on Amazon. It gets here the next day. I am paying extra for the convenience of getting it the next day and not having to buy in bulk. But that's, your business plan. I just want you to know that there are options out there to not buy in bulk if you don't want to invest a significant upfront cost to inventory. That's the way I like to work. You can do it your way. Anyways, so brands like Hanes Eco Smart, I love, Gildan, Comfort Colors, all reliable, good brands. Jerseys is also one. So whatever you prefer, whether it be your blank sweatshirt, t-shirt, blanket, you'll just need your blank, a pair of embroidery scissors, thread, stabilizer. I like to use New Brothered tearaway stabilizer, 8x8. I also get these on Amazon. I have all of my favorite embroidery supplies linked in my bio. You can check out the brands I like to use. If you're making an order, I like to always have a lint roller on hand just so I can make sure the sweatshirt's nice and clean before I send it out. An embroidery hoop and your bobbin. I like to make sure that my bobbin matches my thread. Some people will use just all white bobbins, which is fine, you can do. It's just if your tension gets off a little while embroidering, you will have to re-embroider that area where the tension was off. But I like to always just use the same, so I know that if my tension gets a little off, I can fix it afterwards and I don't have to pause while I'm embroidering. But it's up to you. This is just what I prefer. Okay, next you're going to lay your garment out flat. My embroidery design is just going to be in the center here. Whenever I buy embroidery hoops, they always come with this graph. You may have one already with your embroidery supplies. Just check that packaging your embroidery hoop came with, because I always get one with my embroidery hoops that I purchase. So I have this graph, and if you don't have one, you can use a ruler, but what I do is I put it in the center of my sweatshirt. Now I can tell that this is the center because the tag here is in the center, and if you go in the middle of the tag, it lines up with the center of my graph here. If you'd like, you can use a ruler. This point goes up to 5 inches. So you know that the middle would be 2.5 inches, so which would be right about here, which matches up with my graph in the center of the sweatshirt. And what I do is once my graph is in the middle, make sure it's straight. You can get a fabric marker. I also have these linked in my bio. And what you do is you make a little dot to show you where the center of your sweatshirt is. So when you install your embroidery hoop, you know that if that dot is in the middle of the hoop, that your garment is straight. And these are water soluble, so after one wash, they'll come off. And if you're going to be embroidering on top of it, you won't be able to see it anyways. Now, installing your embroidery hoop. Get your hoop out and take out one piece of stabilizer. Now, you're going to get the underside of your hoop, which is the one with screws on the side, and you put it inside of your sweatshirt. Now, you move your hoop the same way I was doing before, lining it up with the middle, and just making sure your hoop is in the middle of your sweatshirt if you want it centered. I'm putting my hoop exactly where the clear graph was, and that's the mark that I made with my marker. So as long as that's in the middle of my hoop, I'm good. You can grab your graph or your ruler to make sure that that's the middle of your hoop. So that's where the mark was. If I go to the right side of the middle, it's about 3 inches. And then if I do the other side from the middle, it's about 3 inches. So I know that it's centered in the middle. So once you know that, you can add your stabilizer in, and you just put it inside of your sweatshirt on top of your hoop. Try not to move your sweatshirt around, but if you do, it's okay because you could just realign it. Okay, so now we have our stabilizer sitting on top of the bottom of our hoop. And you just want to make sure that your hoop is straight still, and then you want to make sure that it's still centered. So that's 3 on that side and 3 on that side. Great, so it's in the center. And then you just place the top part of your hoop on top. And you just press it in. It should snap in snugly. And now you have your sweatshirt hoop and ready to embroider with. Now, to place your hooped garment into your embroidery machine, you will need to make sure that the stabilizer is what's in back of your hoop. So you'll need to remove any fabric from the way of your stabilizer. So I'm just getting the fabric out of the way, putting the collar behind the hoop. And so this is what it should look like. This is the front, and then this is your back. So you don't want any fabric in the way of your back here. So you just got to move that out of the way. Make sure it stays out of the way. And these 2 metal knobs are going to sit on top of these 2 hooks here. So you slide your sweatshirt underneath your needle, like so, and then you place these 2 knobs into these 2 hooks. And then you press down and it's secure in there. You should hear that little clamping sound you just heard. Okay, and then you move your fabric out of the way and you have this big clean area for you to embroider onto. Now, before placing your sweatshirt into your embroidery, you want to change out your bobbin. So I'm not using this orange color here, so I'm switching it out with the bobbin I will be using. Okay, so I'm going to be using this nude color, and if you don't already have the matching color that you need, when you buy thread, it usually comes with some empty. So what you can do is you can wind your bobbin with your spool of thread so you don't have to buy the exact same color. And you can buy blank bobbins also on Amazon for a few dollars. but check the box that your thread came with, because they usually come with some empty bobbins. My favorite thread that I have linked in my bio always comes with blank bobbins, empty bobbins. So this is how you wind your bobbin. So I'm going to remove my current thread that's in my spool and replace it with the thread I will be using. This into your spool holder, which is this long stick, and then you take the cap that was there and you put it on top, nice and snug. Now you're going to take your thread, and you can see that they're numbered here. This says 1, 2, and 3 for winding your bobbin. So this is the path that you're going to take in order to wind your bobbin. So let's go ahead and follow that path. Number 1 is going underneath here. Number 2 is going underneath this leg here. 3 is a little tricky. There's this little metal stem here that you're going to put your thread behind. So it goes behind this little lever, and then you're going to bring it back up this way, because this way is where your bobbin is going. Then you take your empty bobbin and you place it onto here, and then you grab that piece of thread, put it around just your empty bobbin a couple times, like that, and then you'll have this long piece of thread here that'll just remain on the side here. So you wrap it around this way, clockwise, and then you're going to push this way, and then what you're going to do is this button that's usually green or red will turn yellow, and you're going to press it to start winding your bobbin. Once your bobbin is full, it will stop being able to wind, and you're just going to press the yellow button again to stop it. Now to remove your bobbin, you can just cut it free. Take your embroidery scissors and just cut the thread, and then just move your bobbin back to the left and pick it up. And then you remove your bobbin case cover by just pulling this lever to your right. There's even an arrow here pointing to your right, so you lift that up. Then you place your bobbin in like so, and you want your thread to be facing your right. It'll have a little drawing here to show you that they want your thread to come to the right and then go into the sliver here. Like so. And then you bring it all the way to the back of this sliver. Again, that pathway is behind this sliver here. It goes up and behind this sliver, and at the very end here there's actually a blade that will cut your thread for you. So then you can discard that thread and you place your cover back on by placing this end underneath this metal area, and then the back will just snap in. Now to go back to your spool of thread, instead of bringing your thread this way, you're gonna bring it down here, down in this space in between your embroidery area and the top of your embroidery machine. So it just goes into this empty space here. Now it doesn't need to be around this lever here. You can actually just remove it and do it straight down. But I find with my machine, the Brother PE535, it works better when I leave it around this little lever. So I like to leave mine like that. You don't have to do that with yours. You can just put it straight down. Okay, so once it's down here,
you can see that it's still numbered. So the pathway is still 1, 2, and then we're not doing this one because we're not winding your bobbin. So 3 would be having it down here and then looping it up. That's 3. So then you bring your thread up, and you might have to put a little tension on it and pull. Once you have it around this area, there's a little hook inside your embroidery machine, and you want to get your thread hooked on that hook. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring it forward and then pull it to the left and down, and then you can see that it's hooked. You can see that it's now around the hook, and that's what you need for proper tension. So once you have that hooked, you bring it down, and you're going to put it in front of this number 6 and behind this metal sliver. Now you bring this up into this triangle area on top of number 7, and then you bring it up to number 8, which is this plastic hook on the left. Has a little blade in there, and that will actually cut your thread for you, so it's the proper length. So you just place it in that hook, you pull down, and it'll cut your thread for you. And then to thread your needle, it has an auto threader right here. Now this is number 9. So this is all numbered in sequential order, so you know what order to go in. So now that your thread is cut to the length it needs to be, you're going to press down on this lever, and that will thread your needle for you. And if your auto threader ever breaks, you can manually thread it. Just make sure that your embroidery machine is not on, because you don't want to risk hurting yourself.
Okay, so let's say you don't want to use what came with the embroidery machine and you want to be a little more creative. A good website that I like to get embroidery designs from is Swag Embroidery. Now they do have some free design options, and the ones that you want to purchase are a couple dollars, not bad. And you can link your PayPal to have a secure checkout, of course. So what I like to do is, let's say I'm looking for a cat design. I'll type into the search bar cat. And now these are some examples of cat embroidery designs you can purchase. And you can see there's 26 pages, so they have a wide variety. And you can do this with anything, and the only thing you'll need to do is make sure that it'll fit your 4x4 hoop. So this one says, 4x4, so you know that'll work. And this one says 5x7. Sometimes they'll give you a 4x4 too, so you just need to look at the product specs, and finished size is 5x6. So I wouldn't be able to use this design. If I purchased it, I wouldn't be able to use it because it's too large for my embroidery machine. So here, if I go here, product finished size is 2x3 inches. So this I can use. So I know that if I buy this, it'll fit in my embroidery machine. So if you want to purchase a design instead of using one in your machine, you can do that. Now let's say that you want to make the design yourself. Now you can do this. I have my embroidery digitizer linked in my bio as well. And what you do is you take your JPEG image or your PNG image and you email it to the digitizer, and they'll give you a quote, and you'll have your embroidery file in a couple days. So that's also a route you could take too. Now, for your first embroidery project, you can choose a picture that's already in here. If you click here, they have a lot of preset pictures on here.
different patterns and shapes too. Or you can choose to write a word. Your machine comes with these 6 font styles. So let's say that you want to write the word mom. We'll do M-O-M. And these are going to be all capital. If you want them to be lowercase, you press this right arrow here, and you can see after the alphabet ends, it'll show you it again in lowercase. It also has the underscore there if you want to add that in. But let's say you want them all capital. And if you want to add numbers, you click on this number option on the right of this letter option, and it'll show you a list of numbers and symbols. Same thing, if you want to see what other ones they offer, you just click this right button to see what other symbols are on here. And then you click the left to go back. If you ever accidentally press like something like this on your menu here, you can just click this back button to get out of it. Just let's say you decided you want to change your font, you can click back and it'll say okay to cancel the current pattern selection, and you click OK. Now you can go back and choose whatever font you want. And this is also an issue that you'll come across, is the number of characters you can place per the size of font. So right now we're operating with large font, and it's only with the large font letting me write 2 characters, M-O, and that's with this font style. So if I want to add a 3rd letter, what you do is you change it to medium, and then now I add an M, and okay, you can see I wrote the wrong letter. So if you ever do that, you can just click delete and it'll delete that one letter. So I'm putting M, M-O-M, that's what I want. Perfect. So I click set. And so now your font will be a little smaller because it didn't fit with them on the large size. So they'll be in medium. Now we're pressing set. And there are different things that you can do to your font using the different features it has. Let's say you want it to be on the left side of the hoop. You only want it on the left side. You can move it like that. So now, instead of being in the center, it'll be over here on the left side. And let's say you want it, okay, no, I do want it in the center. You can click here and it'll center it for you, the circle, and you can move it up or down, right. So however, wherever you want it placed, you can use this feature to move it around. And that was the move feature. Now, if you want to mess with the size, let's say you want it to be as large as it can be. You can click this button with all the arrows facing outwards to see how large your machine will let you make it. So I'm going to click it here. And that's the largest my machine will let me make it. And then you can shrink it if you want it smaller. And that's the smallest it can be. And if you want it to reset to the regular medium size, you can click small, then medium, then it resets it to regular medium. And let's say you want it to be as tall as it can be, but you don't want it to be any wider. You can click these buttons facing up and down to make it as tall as it can be. And then we're going to reset it. And then if you want it to be just as wide as it can be, you can do that. But you can see how it makes your wording look off when you mess with just. And if you want to mess with just one letter, this will let you mess with just one at a time. You can see how it's boxed into. Okay, you just want to make this letter bigger or wider. It'll make just this one bigger. And then if you want to cut one, so when you move your word up and down, it doesn't move the entire word, it just moves one. You can do that. So now I can, with this one, just make the changes to this one. So if I want to change just this letter, the first letter M, to this font, I can. So now you can mix and match the fonts within the word. Okay, so if you want to click array, you can make your word be shaped into whichever array you'd like. So if I want it to be like this, and then I can put like a cute little flower under here, and I want it to be shaped to my flower, I can use the array option. Okay, and then once you're happy with the way your font looks, you click edit end, and then you click embroidery.
That's usually where it works great with everything, but just for this particular embroidery design, it usually works better out of 1 just for the head of the mushroom. So when you lower the number on this dial here, you're decreasing the tension of the upper thread. So that's how much the thread will pull on the design as it's being stitched out. So you'll know when your tension is off. Let's say if you have loose thread on top of your design, here, then you would need to increase the number on the dial to increase your tension. If your bobbin thread is coming through on top of your design, then that means that you need to decrease the number on the dial because your tension is too tight. If your bobbin thread is showing here and you tried decreasing your tension, it may be that you need to adjust your bobbin tension. The design I'm embroidering today is this mushroom. So once you have your embroidery design ready, you just click embroidery. You're going to pull your foot lever down. So this plastic part that looks like a leg with a foot at the end, you just place that down. And then on the right of your machine, there's this knob. You're gonna turn it towards you. And when you do this, it makes your needle go down and back up. And once that's done, you can go ahead and click the green button and go, and it'll start embroidering. Never put your hand in here while it's embroidering because it will go through your finger. So once your embroidery machine is done with that section of the design, it will stop on its own and it'll take you to your next section. And on this screen here, this shows you the part of the design that it's going to embroider. So this is what it's going to embroider next, the head of the mushroom. I already did the stem and it tells you here how long it's going to take. So embroidering the head of the mushroom will take 6 minutes. The dots will take 2 minutes, and you can reference the colors on the design as well to show you what section that is. And you can look up here, and once I'm done with my mushroom, that means I'm 2/3 of the way through my design. The total amount it's going to take is 10 minutes. And the total amount of stitches it's going to take is 4,066 stitches. And if you ever need to go back some stitches, you click this plus or minus stitch button, and then you can rewind by going like, let's see, -10 stitches. -100 will take you way back, and you can see it's taking me back to the stem if there was something I needed to go over, or you can do the same if you need to fast forward. So if you ever need to go back in your design, that's how you do it. And if you want to go back to a previous section, you just click the minus thread. And because I already went back to the stem, now I'm at the very beginning. So that's all 3 sections, but I want to go to the section I was about to start, which was the head of the mushroom. So I click the plus or minus thread button, and I'm going to
skip to the next section, which is the second one, and that'll take me back to here. And when you're ready, and this is also an opportunity to change out colors if you want to do different colors for your sections. So I do want the head of my mushroom to be red. So what I'm going to have to do next is change out my thread. So you're going to click this scissor button. Next, you're going to pull your lever up and take your sweatshirt out. You just pull up on this area here and it'll come out. Lift up your embroidery case cap and just go ahead and pull your bobbin out. Now I'm putting in my red bobbin. Here my extra thread is facing the right, then it goes behind this sliver and then behind this sliver, and then you cut it. Then you put your embroidery case cap back on, put your sweatshirt back into your embroidery machine. Then you change out your spool of thread. Now the thread path again is into this metal hook here behind this plastic leg, around this lever, and then down into this space, and then up, then behind the hook, then in front of the 6 and behind this metal section.
Once your design is finished, remove your embroidery hoop. And I have tearaway stabilizer, so I'm going to be able to just easily tear my stabilizer off. I'll show you how easy it is. I use a new Brother 8x8 tearaway stabilizer. So I'm just tearing it down the middle and it just comes off so easy, like so. This is also so satisfying to do. Once my stabilizer is removed, I'm going to take my embroidery scissors and cut off these extra pieces of thread that are just hanging low. And then there's a little bit of extra stabilizer that I'm going to take off as well. And I can see that the middle of good soup, there's this little thread here. So I'm just gonna cut it so I can remove that so it's not in my design. And when I'm cutting off these extra pieces of thread, I just have to be really careful to not accidentally cut the embroidery or the sweatshirt. So here is where I cut them, just right there at the very end, but not on the actual embroidery. And I'm going to do this to all of these pieces of thread that are not part of the design. Adding your listing to Etsy, you're going to title it first. Etsy wants you to get away from keyword stuffing. This title is old. If I were to make this listing today, I would just write embroidered mushroom sweater. You can add 10 photos in one video. Include a fun description of what you're selling, then price and list the quantity that you have. I always default my inventory to 100. When pricing your product, make sure to take into account shipping and Etsy fees. Then add your sizes. You can add items in your inventory that you know you will get within your processing time. Mine is 1 to 3 days. Next, you add whether or not this is digital or physical. And for the category, you can just type in sweatshirts. It'll autofill the rest. And then it's good to fill in all of the attributes. It makes it easier for a buyer who's looking for your sweatshirt to actually find it. Next, you'll have to tag it. The key to tagging is finding different words to say the same thing. Think about how different people would search for your item. Mushroom sweatshirt, mushroom crewneck, toadstool sweater. Then put in your shipping preferences. You can buy your shipping label directly through Etsy.